Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.
Good morning. Welcome back to another week, another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week, I have the pleasure of being joined with Felice Hurst, who's MD of Hanson Search in Dubai. She's also a board member of GWPR, an initiative for women in working in the communications industry. Hanson Search has been going 17 years and Felice has launched in the region for the past 7 years. This morning, we're going to talk about recruitment industry, females working in the communications industry, and a lot about remote working, about technology, about some surveys that GWPR have done to give us lots of insights about the impact of COVID-19. And so lots to talk about. Welcome to the show, Felice.
Hi, Richard. Thank you very much. Good to
So
meet you.
where are you now? It looks like
I am sitting in a bedroom trying to hide from my 3 children.
Okay.
Who are all homeschooling at the moment.
Oh, amazing. What ages are they?
They are 9, 11 and 16. So
Oh, wow.
youngest being a boy who isn't really very happy about this whole home learning scenario. And my oldest was supposed to be sitting her GCSEs this year. So somewhat frustrated.
Are GCSEs happening now or no?
No, all cancelled.
Oh, wow. She must be happy not to have to do it.
Well, I think she's quite jammy, but she's not quite getting that one just yet. She feels a bit hard done to, and it was looking forward to being the operative word, but was quite hoping to sit the exams.
Yeah.
So it's difficult times. It's finding that balance, and I'm the most appalling teacher. I'm appalling. I take my hat off to every one of you teachers out there.
Yeah, it's a different skill, difficult. Isn't it? You need a lot of patience. I don't know if that'd be very good. In the homeschooling, are you required to teach them, or are there schools providing the assistance?
No, the schools. I mean, my younger 2 are at GEMS JPS and my older one's at English College. And I have to say, the online portals are fantastic. The issue I have is for my youngest, who's 9, who doesn't want to do it. It's the older one, and there's interaction. I mean, this is one great thing, I think, that the UAE, in the situation we're now in with COVID, we were already online. We were already technology focused. The schools were already doing a lot of their work through it. So it has enabled it to be a much smoother transition for the children than they do for friends of mine in the UK that have been working more from paper orientated homework. So, they're fine. It's just the motivation to be able to sit at a computer all day and not being able to play their sports and be with their friends. I think it's the mindfulness side of it more than anything.
Yeah, interesting.
And mine, because it's, trying to focus on, I've got to focus on work, and you can't do it when you've got children. Mother, but can you help? Yeah. And as I said, I am an appalling teacher. Patience, not good.
But you clearly got through it. You've adapted like everyone. And how are Hanson Search? What have you put in place to kind of make sure things keep going?
Well, as a business, so we work from our head office in London, and we've got a big support with our researchers in Europe, here and there. So we have, obviously business has very much slowed down. A number of roles have gone on hold. We still have quite a few critical roles that we're searching. I've got 2 retainers at the moment. We're doing quite a lot with the e-commerce space. In the UK, there's quite a bit with the fintechs as well. So I think in any downturn, there's always some industries that will boom, and any business critical roles, they're still live. Of course, the issue I've got at the moment, the roles I'm working here are all international searches. So we've had to change that remit because the candidates last week I had 2 candidates with COVID, one in Nashville, one in Paris. And so we can't relocate them. So we've had to stop the international side and focus purely in the region. So at least we're on the same time zone. We're as a business trying to keep engaged with our clients and our candidates. So we're hosting regular webinars. And so the last one a week ago was talking about how do you interview on webs. I mean, I've got a candidate at the moment for a CMO role who's currently in the middle of an panel interview with 3 people.
Wow.
on Zoom, and it's so difficult. You can't have that human interaction, the personalities, So that was our last webinar. And then what we're seeing now is, because we specialise in marketing communications, is a real rise in the importance of internal communications. And it's something that hasn't been so massively seen before, but in this crisis situation we're in the crisis comms, we're seeing it more and more. So we're hosting a webinar in a couple of weeks' time that we're going to go global with it. So I've got the managing partner of Brunswick here is coming on board. I've got the VP of internal communications for Tetra Pak, who's based in Germany, who we placed. She's going to be on the panel, having a panel discussion about internal communications and the importance of it and how it's really developing. So we're trying our best. I mean, obviously everybody's at home globally, so in some ways it's quite good. So we're having regular Thursday drinks as a company, and we're doing talent games, and we're engaging. But it's hard. I find it very difficult because you seem to spend so much. Zoom is so different to face.
Yeah,
the interaction side.
Yeah, a lot of do explain the kind of the stage that the recruitment industry is at in terms of your business, how Hanson Search operates, and the digital world. Is it something that's changing? As you mentioned, people who have interacted with recruitment businesses in the past as candidates or as clients know the emphasis on getting to know people. And as you mentioned, you're trying to do that digitally. But how is the rest of the business structured for this digital phase?
To be honest, we haven't really been affected massively. Our business is all in the cloud anyway. We're all very much flexible working as a business. We've been using Zoom for the last 12 months anyway, because a lot of our candidates, we can't meet if we can't meet them, we Zoom them. Yeah. So it's not actually that different for us. Because a lot of the time, we are recruiting remote internationally. So as a business, it's not been that much of a shock. I think it's not been able to go and sit with your clients, and that's the difficult side. Because of course the clients are here; it's the candidates that weren't. Yeah, so that's the bit that I'm missing. I do miss the interactions of the office, but as a business, technically, digitally, we were already there with it.
Interesting.
And then, on another side, we've got Hanson Search. We've got a sister company that we're about to launch over here called the Work Crowd, which it's been established for 4 years, and it's an award-winning SaaS-based platform for freelancers. So we were in the process of getting some investment.
Software as a service.
Software as a service, yeah. And it's a super smart algorithm that enables businesses to be able to identify immediately it's professional freelancers. In the UK, it's purely marketing communications. And then, 18 months ago here, they launched the freelance visas. So jumping on the back of this and the whole gig economy, we're now literally, it's about to be launched here in a few weeks' time to really help with businesses. And it's another offering to our clients, not just looking at the permanent workforce, but how can we enable you to get back and help you to get back to work quickly? And of course, all these people that are now here being made redundant, it will help the workforce to be able to get back. So, we're trying to come at all different angles. And, the workforce, there was a McKinsey research recently, and they are predicting that by 2027, 50% of the workforce in Europe and the States will be independent freelance. Google already is 50% workforce. It's called the gig economy. We're a bit behind here because of the whole work visa situation. So this is something that will really help and enable businesses and governments. So we're talking to governments, we're talking to free zones to go and enable them to use this platform. And it's more of an end-to-end solution. So it means that we can offer both sides to our clients, that international search, that the advisory level when it comes to your permanent recruitment, but then at the same time substituting in with this project-based work. So we are trying.
Yeah, you've a lot going on.
To innovate and work with modern technologies for recruitment, because it's evolving all the time. It's always changing.
Interesting. There's a couple of points I want to touch on. Talk a little bit more about COVID-19 in terms of what roles are people looking for and approach to businesses. And then to go into the freelance and the gig economy, but also different types of disruption. So just firstly, while we were talking about it, I've heard things like that companies now are recruiting people remotely. We have a few, from the universities here, we have a few virtual interns that's working quite well. And then other companies are obviously unsure about their future outlook on earnings and projections and forecasts. And obviously, recruitment budgets are affected. What are the current trends in Dubai in terms of COVID-19 and recruitment? Are people putting things on hold or waiting? And what have you seen?
It really depends on who the businesses are and how disruptive they are as a business. So quite a number of our roles here in the UAE are in e-commerce, which of course is booming. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones that are okay to work remotely. I've got another client, it's a big healthcare services. They are all, and it's the front line of it. So it's urgent, critical role. And this person, if they're not here, will be remote, as the whole workforce is. So everything changes every week. But so the more traditional industries have just put everything on hold for now.
Yeah.
Just while waiting to see, because even if we do go back, now it's 30% of the workforce maximums are now back in again. And it seems to be, from advice that we're getting, it's going to be like that for at least 6 months.
Interesting.
So everybody is going to have to get with this program of remote working.
Yeah.
So be that as freelancers and project-based, which is the easier way of doing it in some ways, rather than doing the work visa and getting them on the employment. That's why I do see that's going to be much more of a growth.
Yeah.
We don't really do much in the whole construction or I've done quite a lot in tourism in the past, but we're not really affected by this hospitality because it's not really our client base. We tend to do a lot more with the blue chips or these, we do a lot with the startups and as I said, e-commerce and fintech. They are disruptors of the marketplace, so they're not afraid of this remote working.
Yeah, maybe a lot of them have different types of run rates and capital already for now. But
critical roles only are the ones that are being hired right now. Some, there'll many. I know we talked to a client the other day who's in strategic communications, one of the agencies, and they started off with their advice to clients 4 weeks ago was crisis comms. And then 2 weeks ago, it was internal communications. How do we get through? And now the next bit of the communications is the financial aspect. If they have to make redundancies, the investor relations side of it all. So it's a process that's ever evolving. But, the sooner we can get back to work, even if it is at 30% capacity, it will help. And I do think here in the UAE, they've done a great job. I feel very confident here that they've handled COVID right. I've got my family in the UK. I've also got candidates all over the States and Europe. We are doing it well, and I do think we need to get back to work for the economy to keep going.
That's true. That's interesting. So it sounds like you've dealt with the COVID-19 impact quite well digitally and have a handle on the roles that are available. I guess the next phase would be some sort of a slowdown in the economy as it. Yeah. Maybe not a slowdown because it's already slow, but
already stopped.
It stopped. But I think the words like recession, etc. But I think what I'm getting at is when you previously in your career, I assume that you were working during the recession in 2008.
Yeah.
What was your advice to candidates then, and what were the trends that have seen that potentially there will be more people in the market. There'll be more people looking for jobs. How do they position themselves well to kind of be attractive in that type of environment?
Well, I'm actually in the process of writing an article for LinkedIn about this because I've been in recruitment for 20 years now, so I've been through 2 recessions. Okay. I remember when I very first started in recruitment, being told by my boss at the time, many a company will go under in this time, but the good ones will survive. Many are born in recessions. We're in a very good position because we've been established, we're well known, we're reputable, we've got a very good client base. It's been going for a very long time. So I think it's nowadays in this current market, it's all about your relationship with your clients and your candidates. When it comes to candidates applying for jobs, you have to bear it. We always, as recruiters, bear the brunt of it all. Why do recruiters never respond to our messages? Whenever I post anything, I always say, please only apply if you have relevant experience. If you don't, we won't be responding. If you post a job on LinkedIn, likelihood is there'll be 2,000 responses. Yeah. And of the 2,000 responses, probably 1% have got the right skills. Even if we are specific, you must have this, you must have that. Everybody and anybody will apply. Sometimes we'll get the same candidate applying for 4 or 5 different jobs, totally different jobs, the same candidate. Don't waste your time. Make sure you read, assess and look at the websites of the recruitment agencies that are posting the jobs. What do they specialize in? We specialize in marketing communications. I don't need and the amount of times I get accountants sending CVs to me, we're not going to respond. Make sure it's relevant. Have your LinkedIn profiles up to date is vital. It's really good because that's how lots of clients are using it to find you. It's how recruiters will always be there. Be relevant. If you're in the communications industry, make sure you're posting. Write your own articles. Show your skill base is a really good aspect to go after. But it's really awful. I know people are desperate, and it's horrendous when I get CEOs applying for jobs for a director's role of marketing. So that was part of my job description. Unfortunately, in this market, only the people with the relevant skills will be getting the roles. You can't change careers now. You need to focus on where your strengths are.
I was going to ask, is that the advice to kind of not think of it as, I'd like to try this and pivot? Like you should recognize you do have a lot of experience if you do.
And stick with it. Yeah. Now is not the time, because if there's a specific job description with a specific role, there are people out there that will fit the bill, that unicorn with the multicolored tail, as I call it. So if you've only got part of the skill set, it won't go through. You need to apply for the roles that fit your CV. And another thing I always say to candidates, have one generic CV that talks through your experience, but then fine tune it for the roles you're applying for. One CV can't be right for everything. Draw out the skills that are relevant to the role. So you do need to take the time to assess, is this role right for me? Am I the right candidate for it? Otherwise, you're going to be sending your CV everywhere and you will not get responses. As I said, we post something, we might get 2,000 responses for an advert.
Yeah.
That's why we don't do it. We test it every now and again and say, no, we can't do it. That's why we search. So we as a business, we don't advertise jobs. We're not a database. We go find, and it comes to our network. And referral and our global, our reach that's been established, as I say, for the 17 years.
How do you get, I guess it's a kind of a headhunting process. What are the kind of ways that you go about it, without sharing too much that you can't share, but what do you do now to identify talented, skilled people?
Well, it starts off by really understanding the roles that we're recruiting for and having that conversation with the client first. So it's not just a job description, it's understanding what is really important, what is the focus on this. We're seasoned recruiters, so we interview our candidates. We will take references. Quite often people will be referrals, there'll be network will come through. Our job is to interview. And we know when people aren't telling the truth, and we know when they're exaggerating, and we challenge. And that's why we identify the right skill sets.
And is it, if I say to you that I'm looking for a particular candidate, but I might say, okay, the skill set actually is a little bit tricky because it's new. We're doing, say for Augustus, we're doing modern media. And for me, really, it's more aptitude and intelligence and attitude and things like that in line with our values. Would you tailor your search and would you have different types of tests and assessment for candidates in that sense?
Yeah, well, we don't really assess. We do more the challenging questions, as you as a journalist do, open questions, and we then focus and channel the next process. And we can usually quite quickly identify if they're right or not. If it's a skill set that we need or a personality trait. Obviously with a personality trait, it's easier if you can meet face to face, but otherwise in these sorts of conversations. So it's the same process. It's not rocket science. It's about engaging with people and listening, I suppose.
Okay, interesting.
But it will all depend on what the requirements are from the client, and what is more important, the actual experience they've got or the aptitude. Our roles are at the senior end, not the junior end of the market. So really, it does come down to how many years experience you've got. Have you been involved in this sector? How deep has it gone? Your leadership level. So there's always a number of factors that need to be assessed on any of the interviews.
Interesting. I really want to talk about your other solution on gig economy in more detail. But just first, you mentioned LinkedIn, and what are the other things out there that are potentially going to emerge as trends, not disruption, but the evolution, the digital evolution of the recruitment business, both on your offering side of things and also the client and the candidate. What are the kind of trends for the non-freelance and for the people who are working in the companies?
Well, it's like, I was talking to somebody the other day, the economy we're in now, that we, for the first time ever, there are 4 generations working in the same offices.
Okay.
So that's the baby boomers, all the way down to the Z generation. So you've got the leaders, they could be in their 60s because they're still working, they're not retiring at 50 as they were. And then we've got these new workforces coming in. That's a massive, massive variance of skills, leadership styles, expectations. And I think the future of the workforce that we're seeing is those disruptive businesses, for you to be able to attract the skills. Because what differentiates businesses from others is their employees even. It's the workforce. And you want to retain them and hire them. And it's only going to happen. These Z generations, they're looking for the CSR. They're looking for the reason. They're not just they will not work just for a job. They're gone are the days when you join a business and you stay there for 20 years. These guys in 2 years' time might reinvent themselves as something else. So as employers, you need to make sure you're looking at your workforce and identifying who are they, what age groups, what are they looking for? And they are looking for training, they're looking for development, they want the appraisals, that internal, the role of the HR function and talent development is vital. Yeah. And even with or without the gig economy, those are the companies that will survive. And if you don't change the way of your clocking in, clocking out, again, it seems ridiculous saying this now, we're all working from home, but 3 months ago it was not the case. And a lot of businesses, you had to be in at 9 o'clock and you had to leave. You can't leave till 5. Even if you finished your work and you're working all night, you have to clock in. Those days are gone. And those are the businesses that you won't see in 5 years' time. If you look at the Fortune 500, I think there's some massive figure that 50% of the Fortune 500 that were here 10 years ago no longer exist in it. Look at your Kodaks and your big brands that have just disappeared, no longer relevant.
So what I'm understanding is that for businesses to survive, it's important to invest on the services that help the recruitment to have the right talent and to
not just recruitment of us. As a business, they should really, especially a bigger business, be handling your own recruitment. Internal functions. It's maybe 70-80% of your roles. The business critical ones, the ones that you've got, big teams you need to hire, or that search. That's when you go and bring in the executive search. But you need to make sure that you're identifying the talent that you've got, so you don't lose them. Because if you don't keep that talent, that superstar, they will go to somebody else. So that's where it really needs to become relevant. That those talent managers internally in businesses identifying quickly who are the superstars, who are the ones who are future leaders. Again, it's a bit like the figures. There's a very good initiative out there called the 30% Club. I don't know if you've come across it before, which I've done a bit of work with in the past. And that came up again on the back of another McKinsey search. And they identified that businesses that had more than 30% of their workforce in senior leadership as women were more sustainable, had higher profit margins and lower turnover of staff. I don't know if you've seen on LinkedIn recently, talk about all the governments that are run by women and how more successful they've been with this COVID. And because of the different bedside manner of a female leader. And the aim of the 30% Club that was set up, Bloomberg, the CEO of Bloomberg first set up, I think about 10 years ago, was to aim to get to 30% of the Fortune 500 to have 30% of their leaders as women.
Okay.
And this is driving. So I've helped out with them a few times. I remember going to go sitting with the board of, I shan't say the name, of a big international hotel chain saying we're really promoting women. And I was round a board table of 12 men. I was like, yes, I can see, very successful. These are the businesses that it's not losing the women at the management. Everybody joins, it's 50-50 at joining level. Once you get to middle management, then a lot of the women leave, or they, they can't come back, and it's having this support network. Not that I want this conversation to be about women, because actually it's about the workforce. And that's, again, why the Global Women in PR, we can flip over to that as well. That is not just about women. It's about, we are a board, and we are targeting senior women in communications, be that agencies or client side, and how we can impact the workforce. So we're not hosting events just for women, because that's not natural. We're having men on the panel, we're bringing men in, we've got male advisors. It just happens to be a committee, a business of women, that's enabling things moving forward. I mean, we had decided after we had some research over Christmas holidays, which feels like a lifetime ago, and we'd spoken to many of these women in senior positions, saying, what is it you're looking for a network such as this, an initiative such as this? What will get you to our events? Because there is nothing worse than all women networking groups. I mean, it's all, or if you go to an event, they might give you a rose, but they'll give a man a golf lesson. This is not the way that the workforce needs to change. And it was identified at the end of last year that everybody was really striving for flexible working. So we decided that this year's agenda was such. So 3 weeks before COVID hit us, we had our first event of the year, super successful, talking about flexible working, how to enable it. And of course, now we're in it, so we're going to have to find another agenda now. But I think businesses who want to stay relevant, who want to keep moving forward, have got to assess women in the workplace and their digitalisation. But that, and the flexible working agenda, being able to work from home, but that only comes with trust and technology. Yeah. So this is where people really need to invest in the technology that you can work remotely and effectively. And also, even things I'm seeing a lot of clients say, they've actually nipped into the office to steal their chairs, because it's things like if you're sitting at home on a laptop, sitting on your dining chair, people are now having problems with their backs. So I know a lot of people have gone into the office and taken their chairs to bring them home. So it's things like that. It's enabling the workforce to be able to work effectively at home. Interesting. That's how they will stay relevant.
Okay, interesting. I think so. Actually, like, now is a good time for companies to look at these things. The kind of people and culture department. You mentioned the comms that they're looking at, but the structure is the trend in terms of what's important to these generations, the different requirements based on how they want to work, and that's what you're helping companies kind of recruit for and plan their businesses around. You mentioned, so GWPR is a global initiative that you launched in Dubai and in the region. How have you gone about setting that up? And I think you touched on some of the kind of, should I say, stereotypes around women in business initiatives and things like that. What are the real challenges, and how do you go about tackling them as an independent group like this?
Well, we as a business, Hanson Search as a business, has been working closely with Global Women in PR for a number of years. So they actually asked me, "Can you launch it?" So obviously, I'm a recruiter. I am not in communication, so I have managed to pull together a brilliant board of which I'm on. But I'm not. I don't think it's right that I chair it, because it's not my role. My role is more of a connector. So that's where we've gone to. And I think really, I mean, the way a lot of these women's networking groups go wrong is they only have them for women. Don't network just with women, and it's making sure that there is absolutely no reason why the conversations you're having in these groups are the same. I've had clients in the past interviewing a candidate of mine, again, won't say any names, who had 4 children. And at every stage of the interview, one of the interviewers would ask her, "How do you manage with 4 children?" And every time she was interviewed, she would respond with the same question. "I have a husband. Would you ask him the same question? We do it together." It's these sorts of unconscious bias that come through that, that women will talk about. So what do you like to cook? And how do you manage this? Well, actually, no. There are fathers there who have the same capabilities and working. And it's changing that unconscious bias of gender, because gender really shouldn't come into it. I don't believe in quotas. If you just say, right, okay, we have to have...
the 30% club is a quota.
well, that's an initiative aiming, because it's been proven monetary wise. But it doesn't mean that you on hiring. I mean, hiring your board, you need to have a woman on there. So I suppose, yes, I'm eating my words now slightly, but it doesn't. You can't say we have to have. We'll aim for 30% of our workforce, but it doesn't mean you're going to hire them in. It means that you need to look at your workforce coming up through the ranks.
Yeah.
So on that side,
yeah, I agree. I think it's
got to be skills. You've got to be hired on skill, not on gender, race, whatever it may be. If you hire for one specific reason, you're going to lose the skill set.
I think a lot of those researchers are really good because they kind of remind people of the skills, and that, they remove the gender stereotypes. And sometimes quotas are good to get things to start, when things are so imbalanced, to get things to start. But I think it's good to hear that, for example, a lot of our team here it's very balanced, but almost by default, because we don't look at gender differently. We hire for skills, and we're aware of these researchers. But just a question, in the PR industry, I personally worked in marketing communications in the UK and Ireland and here for 10, 12 years. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but most of the PR agencies I've come across, and I'm not sure statistics, so we can keep a check, but it does feel like that there are a lot of female leaders in PR, if not full leaders and owners, definitely on the kind of director side. And it seems to be something that has always been good industry to allow women to progress. Or is it, is it not?
Yeah, I think of any of them, it has been. I mean, it will depend on the agency themselves, but what you tend to see across the board, there's not many CEOs, there's not many GMs, MDs that are women. There are ones that have been set up by women. It's like one of our board members is Lucy Darbo. So Lucy and her sister set up Darbo, might be 10 years ago, which they then sold to Everman. But they set it up themselves. There's a few brilliant businesses here, but they tend to be privately held.
Good examples, yeah.
Rather than your international PR agencies. And it will depend on the sector as well. I mean, if it's consumer PR, reversed rather than finance PR. So again, the finance world has notoriously been more men, so IT, and it's only been these Z generation students coming through universities. I mean, I think there was some figure like 2% of graduates in engineering were females, but that's all now changing. So the younger generations, I think you will see there's a lot more of the stereotypical sector that they're in. But PR as a whole, again, because I think it's, if you're in advisory in PR, it's those social skills, those interpersonal skills that will enable you to be a true advisor to your clients. And, and it's quite often we have our ways as women. We can deal with conflict sometimes more easily than men can, because we can, as a female, no, I'm being gender specific now when I don't mean, but but PR is a good world that's not massively out. But once you get higher up, then the figures are really not very good.
I think the good thing about this sort of, when you look at gender like that, and research and studies, it's fascinating, because when you study emotional intelligence, it does show things that contradict hiring in the past and percentages, because it shows balance. It might show that some are better than others, but it actually shows balance. But I think it leads back to your point that an organization that's geared for the modern world that we live in needs to be aware of these studies and aware of these trends. You mentioned you work a lot in the fintech and e-commerce space, and finance. Those industries would typically, especially in Silicon Valley and in VCs, and would be very male orientated. And often we've seen examples of where they've been at the core of the issues, where we've seen the Me Too movement and things like that. Yeah. Is that your experience? Have you seen tangible examples of where they might be going wrong? And do you try and kind of assist that process, that change, as part of your recruitment approach?
Hi. I mean, it's when those kind of roles, it's always exciting to find the females. I think the problem is with your fintech and your e-commerce, it's more of that startup mentality, the risk takers. And you do tend to find that the male mind tends to be more risk takers and the female are more adverse to it. I mean, that's partly why in the workforce, men are more likely to put themselves forward for roles that are beyond their experience skill set.
Okay.
They will, whereas women as a whole tend to be more, they'll wait until they're ready. So it seems to be, I think it's changing as time goes on, but those risk takers, you've got to be a risk taker to go to a startup. You've got to be a risk taker, walking away. And it's not one of the big minds of a lot of the females, but they are changing.
What else needs to change? I read something this week about pay in sports. The US soccer team, the female soccer team, took a court case out to have the same pay as male counterparts, and they were rejected. It was not put through. Do you think that we need more regulation around pay? Do you think we need more other things like
So many of these agendas are going on globally now. I mean, if we go at the current speed, it's going to take 100 years for women to be paid the same money as men. 100 years. I mean, if you look at the BBC in England, I mean, look at every business, but it's going to take the next generation to push that one through, I think.
Yeah. And
men aren't going to reduce their salaries, and especially now this current climate, it's going to increase. But I think it's more and more and more being in the press. I mean, it's every sport, isn't it? If you look at Wimbledon, the men's Wimbledon final, they win how many millions, and the women win, about 5. I think they win about 10, and the women are 5. I mean, it's across everywhere, not just football.
Is it more prominent? The 100 years statistic is interesting. I think in sports, some of the arguments would be to do with business and that eyeballs and marketing money and things like that. But in the workplace, there shouldn't be that discrimination.
No, it shouldn't be. And I do think it's the problem is at the moment, I think it's more at that senior level where they've been working for 15, 20 years. At the entry level and the kids, the people coming up, it's not the case.
So it's more.
It's just more at that more senior end.
Do you think that the media? And do you think that there needs to be more role models in this region? We know that the outside of business and the government, there's a lot of examples of females in responsible for different ministries, and there's a lot of coverage. I know that the Dubai Media Office are represented on GWPR, and they have strong kind of leadership figures as females as well. But do you think we need more female heroes in the business world in the Middle East?
There are some brilliant ones out there, absolutely brilliant. I mean, again, another figure someone said to me, there are more females in leadership in the government here than United Nations.
Okay, wow.
I mean, there are brilliant women in the finance sector over here, Arab women, Western women. They are there. We just need to see. And some of the stories, some of the local Emirati women I've met, and it's just astonishing how, I mean, it puts me to shame. They are phenomenal. And I think we have far more of them here in this region than anywhere else, because we really don't. I mean, people, I think it's such a misconception to the UAE. I think this is a brilliant place to be, women in leadership. There is it really is a good place. So and we almost need to broadcast it out to the rest of the world. Look what we're doing here.
Yeah.
I know that's something at the media office that we're trying to do. I didn't speak, and it's let everybody see, actually, we do it well here. We really do.
Yeah. And in other countries in the region, there's the percentages are a little bit different than the UAE in terms of female in the workforce, and there's a few barriers to kind of overcome culturally for that to kind of happen. But what are the other things? Like you mentioned risk. Is there any other things that we could, if you're recruiting for a kind of a director or C-suite level for a female, what is their attitude in terms of their future career ambitions, and how can that be geared towards more leadership roles?
I suppose that's something for each individual candidate that we're speaking to at any given time. And what we as a business try not to do whenever possible is we don't put round pegs in square holes. So if we understand our clients, where their future is, where they see this role going in the next 5 years and what they want of this individual, so we don't look at what the role is now, we do try and work out what's it going to be in the future. And that then in turn enables us to be able to understand if this candidate is right or not.
Okay.
So what are their key drivers? But they need to match up with the candidate's drivers as well as the business. It's like if you're going for an interview. They are not just interviewing you to see if you're right for the job. It's 50-50. You're interviewing them to see if they're the right business for you. So it's marrying up. It's almost like a true relationship, a partnership. 50-50.
Well,
so what you need and what they want. And it's not just skill set, but it will be the future. And that's when you get the right candidate for the job.
Interesting. It's great to hear that there's independent bodies and initiatives in Dubai, and hopefully on your next meeting you'll come up with a new agenda and you'll share it with us. But going back to the kind of gig economy, Felice, what's your own view on that? Is it technology is disrupting it and enabling it? Is it good? Is it bad? Are there pros and cons?
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. Good. It's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's massive. It's going to disrupt the recruitment place. So any of those agencies that are all database that have just been throwing CVs and filling, they're going to struggle. The search firms with those true relationships advisors will be fine, but this is disrupting the workforce. I mean, they're currently, I'd say now, in the gig economy, it's worth $2.3 trillion now. This is the future. The future, and we're living it now. The fact that we are working remotely, the future workforce don't want to be having one job. They might work for 3 people at any given time. They could be climbing a mountain in Timbuktu while writing an editorial piece. We don't need to be in the office to do our jobs well. I mean, even lawyers. I mean, it's all of, if you're a lawyer and you're working for a law firm for the last 20 years, you're a partner, you're working 7 days a week, month in, month out. It's a very high stress level. These are the guys that are coming on to this professional freelance world and giving themselves this flexibility. It's disrupting the workforce massively. And our platform, it's already won awards. The proprietary software, the algorithm is super smart. So it enables freelancers to go onto the platform, to invoice, to business develop, to communicate, to connect. And then it allows them to put...
Is it like Upwork or Fiverr, or is it that? No.
Ours is end to end. So yes, it's a similar sort of aspect. This is end to end. So the freelancer will upload all of their profile onto the system. The software has got a very smart algorithm that immediately matches the skills to a project. So if you post your project on the platform, you put in the quite granular details into what you're looking for, it will immediately identify the top 8 people that match those skills. So Upwork and these other projects, you will post your job, your project, and then the freelancers will apply for it. So it's that whole conundrum again of the LinkedIn. So if you post a project, you'll then get hundreds of people applying. How do you filter through it? This is efficient end-to-end solution that takes away recruitment, and it's speedy. So then you've got 8 candidates. If they're not right, you've put the wrong information in. So you try again. If you like all of them, you message them directly through the platform, and off you go. And it's all secure.
Yeah.
All the candidates are vetted. It's a very effective. And there's nothing else in the marketplace like it that's true end to end.
I must check it out for us. What's the name of it again?
Yeah, The Work Crowd.
The Work Crowd.
So we'll be launching it here in the next few weeks. So probably by the time this is published, it might be here. We were hoping to bring it here across all industry sectors. As I said, we're going for investment at the moment. We've already got a number of investors in, but we need to do it. This is the time. We really feel we can help people here. We can help businesses to enable them to get back to work flexibly.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask a personal question on it and kind of career and maybe the stage that I'm at in terms of how it would work. But just in terms of business model, is that disrupting your own business model? Fees wise, commissions, things like that? Or do you see them working hand in hand?
We see them working hand in hand. Our Hanson Search is not going anywhere. We specialise in marketing communications at the senior level. This will turn me into selling a SaaS product It's not recruitment. We're not recruiting. It's more, so then we do a lot of advice going into clients, talking about the structure of their workforce, how to enable it. So this means that we can come in at both sides. Actually, do you need to go on a search for that role? Can you bring in trusted freelancers that you will work with regularly, rather than having the expense of an added employee? And if you think about here, with the issues of work visas, gratuity, sick, insurance, it takes away so much of the aggravation, or here it is the most difficult thing, isn't it? The PRO aspect of the role. So actually, it means that we're there to supporting our clients in all different avenues. Hanson Search is a sister company. It is not going anywhere. It's just another opportunity, another offering to enable our clients and to keep us relevant and supportive of clients and candidates. I mean, it was set up in 2016, and Alice, our CEO, had been talking to mums at the school gates, and they're all saying, I just want to go back and do some freelance work. I don't want to go and do full-time 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. Don't really know where to go about this. And I was like, well, we need to find a way of doing it. Let's see what we can do. And it was in the beginning purely because a lot of PR advertising world, you live and breathe it. The amount of times it's a crisis comes, you're in the office 24 hours, you're sleeping on the floor. And actually, as you have families, it makes it very, very difficult. And so many of these freelancers, you lose the skill set, and this is a way of keeping all those skills. Yeah. So you can have your basic work, and also it helps with things, nationalisation, emiratization. You can have 100% of your workforce as nationals now, and then substitute with these vetted, seasoned projects, independent workers.
Yeah,
I think it helps with the downturn in economy. It helps through the times of Ramadan, peak times. Yeah. I mean, I've been in recruitment 20 years, started many moons ago for Michael Page Finance. And in those days, the biggest part of Michael Page was the temp business. And this is just an evolution of temporary work.
True. Interesting. I think when we hire some people, when I used to hire before in global listed companies in media marketing, we wouldn't be allowed to have freelancers because it's a separate budget, there's red tape, there's things like that. So when we hired for someone and digital skills are changed so fast, and that someone can't do all the 10, 20 things that we're going to ask them, it causes tension. And when we hire people now, if one of my team can't do a new API or can't do a different type of a software, I say, don't worry about it. I find someone freelance for 5 hours a week, and there's less pressure on the full FT, the full-time employee, and there's more, and it's cost effective, and everyone's happy. So you don't fire someone because they can't do a really specific skill that doesn't suit them anyway. So I see it's really important for organizations to adapt it. But just personally speaking, if I was to, these trends scare me away in a way, the gig economy and the statistics that you said of how prevalent it's becoming personally, because if I'm in London 10, 11 years ago and I'm looking for a job and I'm doing social media, I can't really do it. I can do it freelance. I know some people do it really well on some technical side. But I want to be in an office. I want to be involved in brainstorms. I want to do client service. And now, if I say I go back to the workforce, a lot of my experience now is leadership, managerial, operational. How can I do that as a freelance?
Well, that's why it's the individual choice of the individual what you want to do. I mean, there is now a choice which wasn't there before.
Okay.
So a lot of these people. I mean, we're looking at the senior end. We're not talking. Obviously we will do the more junior end as well, but it's your choice, and it means that you could be on a project for 6 months in an office where you're going in to advise strategy, leadership, help them with their agency, and then move on somewhere else. So it's your individual decision on how you want to be. Do you want to be one of those core workforce who's in the office and they're a permanent employee, or are you looking for the flexibility? I mean, quite often here now, even people in permanent employment are getting NOCs now that you're allowed to work for another employer at the same time. So we've got a few freelancers that we use on the design side who are working for agencies and have NOCs to say, yes, you can do freelance work as long as it doesn't affect ours. I mean, I know another one of a contact of mine. I mean, when they opened up all these freelance visas, she offered to her agency, if anybody wants to go freelance, I will pay for your freelance visa. But you have to confirm that you'll give to me so many months of the year or so many projects. And of the workforce, I think it might have been over about 20, about 5 or 6 took her up on it straight away.
Interesting.
Of course, this is a woman leader. I should probably mention the name, but I don't know. I won't. No, but that's a woman leader who again is doing it differently. Offered this to the workforce. What do you want? And some of them wanted to stay permanent. Others, right? No, brilliant. Yes, if you pay for my freelance visa, that's about 7,000-8,000 dirhams at the moment for a year, and it's worked brilliantly well. And you will see these agencies that are working this way, that, you know, it's tapping into the skills that are needed at a certain time. And there's quite a few of them here that are doing it, but they're the ones that tend to be led by women, quite bizarrely.
It's a good idea. I think I'm going to borrow that female-led idea.
Yeah.
It's a really good note to finish on, Felice. Pleasure talking to you. I've learned a lot, and I'm sure lots of people will as well. And, you know, best of luck getting through this current unprecedented times, I'll say that catchphrase. And it'll be good to catch up again in the future, especially around the work crowd, and to see how it progresses.
That would be great. No, it's lovely speaking to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Take care.
Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city.
That business with scalability was very interesting to me.
I like building something that has legacy.